Mastery begins with one essential truth. If you don't understand yourself, you don't stand a chance at mastering anything else in life. Most people drift through their days reacting to circumstances, pulled in 1,000 directions, never stopping to ask themselves who they are, what they stand for, or why they do what they do. They assume that life is something happening to them rather than something they have the power to shape. But if you want to take control, if you want to command your destiny, you need to start by knowing exactly who is in control. And that begins with self-awareness. Think about this for a moment. How often do you actually take the time to observe your own thoughts? How often do you question why you react the way you do, why certain fears hold you back, or why you repeat patterns that sabotage your progress? Most people don't. They move through life like puppets, controlled by emotions, past experiences, and subconscious habits that they've never examined. They mistake their impulses for truth. They mistake their emotions for reality. But you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And when you start to truly observe, rather than blindly react, you begin the process of self-mastery. Because here's the reality. If you don't understand your own mind, someone else will take control of it for you. Society, social media, peers, your past conditioning, these forces will shape your decisions and dictate your future if you don't step in and take responsibility for yourself. If you don't decide who you are, the world will do it for you. So what does this actually mean in practice? It means you need to develop the ability to step outside yourself and see with brutal honesty who you really are. Not who you pretend to be, not the version of yourself that is comfortable to believe in, but the real, unfiltered, sometimes uncomfortable truth about who you are, what drives you, and what's holding you back. This is not easy. It's fact, it's painful. It requires you to confront aspects of yourself that you rather ignore. It demands that you acknowledge your weaknesses, your fears, your self-imposed limitations. But if you refuse to face the truth about yourself, how can you ever hope to change? Most people avoid this kind of introspection because it forces them to take responsibility. And responsibility is heavy. It means admitting that the problems in your life are not just the fault of external circumstances, but the result of your own choices, your own patterns, your own mindset. But here's the paradox. When you finally take responsibility, when you stop blaming, when you stop making excuses, you free yourself. You take back your power. Because if the problem is you, then the solution is you as well. One of the most powerful tools in this process is self-reflection. Every day, take time to analyze your actions, your emotions, your triggers. Ask yourself, why did I react that way? Why did I feel insecure in that moment? Why do I keep falling into the same destructive habits? Write it down, examine it, dissect it like a scientist. The more you do this, the more you start to see the patterns that have been running your life without your permission. And once you see them, you can change them. But awareness alone is not enough. You must also develop the courage to act on what you discover. If you identify a toxic habit, break it. If you recognize a fear that's keeping you small, confront it. If you realize you've been living in a way that is out of alignment with your true values, make the necessary adjustments, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. This is the price of mastery. And most people won't pay it. They'd rather stay comfortable, even if it means staying lost. Yet, the few who are willing to take this path, the ones who commit to knowing themselves at the deepest level, become unstoppable. They move through life with clarity because they understand their own nature. They make better decisions because they are no longer deceived by their own blind spots. They cultivate discipline because they know exactly what they are working toward. And most importantly, they develop the inner strength to navigate life's storms without losing themselves in the chaos. Self-awareness is not just an abstract concept. It is the foundation upon which everything else in your life is built. Without it, you are a slave to circumstance, tossed around by every external force. But with it, you become the architect of your own destiny. And that, more than anything else, is the key to mastering your life. There's something you need to understand if you ever want to take control of your life. You will never reach your potential without discipline. You can have the grandest vision, the most ambitious goals, the strongest desire for success, but without discipline, none of it matters. None of it will materialize, because discipline is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. It is the price you pay to turn dreams into reality. And the truth is, most people aren't willing to pay that price. They say they want success, but they don't want to do the work when it becomes inconvenient. They say they want to be in great shape, but they only go to the gym when they feel like it. They say they want to build something meaningful, but they let distractions, laziness, and fleeting emotions dictate their actions. And then they wonder why nothing changes. They wonder why they stay stuck. But it's not a mystery. It's simple. They lack discipline. Because discipline is doing what you must do even when you don't feel like doing it. That's the difference between people who achieve greatness and those who don't. The ones who succeed, they show up, regardless of whether they're tired, uninspired, or unmotivated. They do the work not because it's easy, not because it's fun, but because they've decided that it must be done. And that decision, that unwavering commitment to action, is what separates the extraordinary from the average. Most people live their lives in a constant battle between what they want now and what they want most. They chase comfort, ease, and short-term pleasure, even when it directly conflicts with their long-term goals. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow, that they'll be more disciplined when they feel ready, but readiness is an illusion. Discipline doesn't wait for motivation. Discipline doesn't wait for the perfect circumstances. Discipline acts. And the irony is, the very people who avoid discipline because they think it's restrictive end up being the most trapped. Because without discipline, your life is not your own. If you can't control yourself, someone or something else will control you. Your emotions, your impulses, your cravings, society, social media, entertainment, other people's expectations, all of these forces will dictate your life. If you don't take charge, you will drift. You will react instead of act. You will spend years waiting for a breakthrough that never comes because you refuse to take responsibility for the only thing you truly have control over, your own actions. So the question is, how do you develop discipline? The first step is understanding that it is a muscle, not a gift. No one is born with discipline. No one wakes up one day and suddenly has the ability to do everything they need to do without resistance. Discipline is something you build. And like any muscle, it grows through repetition, through struggle, through consistent effort over time. You train yourself to follow through. You train yourself to push past resistance. And here's the key. You start small. If you try to overhaul your entire life overnight, you'll fail. It's too much, too fast. Instead, commit to small daily disciplines. Wake up at the same time every day. Set a schedule and stick to it. Keep the promises you make to yourself, no matter how insignificant they seem. Over time, these small acts of discipline compound. They create momentum. They rewire your mind to operate from a place of control rather than chaos. And as that discipline strengthens, you begin to realize something powerful. You trust yourself more. Because that's what discipline really gives you. It's not just about getting things done. It's about knowing deep down that when you say you're going to do something, you will do it. That level of self-trust is rare. Most people don't have it because they've broken too many promises to themselves. They say they'll start the diet and they don't. They say they'll wake up early and they hit snooze. And every time they do, they reinforce the belief that they are not in control, that they are weak, that they can't rely on themselves. But you can change that. You can rebuild that trust one disciplined action at a time. And when you do, something incredible happens. You start to believe in your own power. You stop doubting whether you can achieve your goals because you've proven to yourself that you are capable of doing what's necessary. That belief, that self-confidence, that's what transforms your life. Because at the end of the day, discipline is freedom. It may not seem like it at first, but it is. It frees you from being a slave to your impulses. It frees you from regret, from wasted potential, from the frustration of knowing you could be more but aren't willing to do what it takes. It gives you control. It gives you power. And when you have that, when you have the ability to act regardless of circumstance, there is nothing you cannot accomplish. Life will test you. It will throw obstacles in your path. People will betray you. Plans will collapse. And there will be days when everything feels like it's working against you. And in those moments, your ability to control your emotions will determine whether you rise above or fall apart. Because if you don't master your emotions, they will master you. They will dictate your actions, shape your decisions, and trap you in cycles of frustration, anger, and self-doubt. But if you can control your mind, if you can remain calm, focused, and unwavering, despite the chaos, you become untouchable. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. They wake up in a bad mood and let it ruin their entire day. They get criticized and allow it to shatter their confidence. They feel fear and immediately retreat, as if discomfort is something to be avoided at all costs. But here's what you need to understand. Your emotions are not reality. They are temporary reactions, chemical responses, patterns that have been conditioned into you over time. And just because you feel something does not mean you have to obey it. The problem is that most people never learn to separate themselves from their emotions. They become their anger. They become their anxiety. They become their insecurity. And once that happens, logic disappears, self-control disappears. They react impulsively, say things they regret, make decisions out of fear rather than wisdom, and then wonder why their life feels so out of control. But here's the truth. Your emotions are not in charge. You are in charge. And the moment you understand that, you take back control of your life. Now, this doesn't mean ignoring your emotions or pretending they don't exist. That's not strength. That's avoidance. Emotions serve a purpose. Fear can protect you. Anger can motivate you. Sadness can teach you. But you must learn to observe them rather than being consumed by them. Imagine your emotions as waves in the ocean. You are not the waves. You are the one watching from the shore. If you can step back and recognize, this is fear, this is frustration, this is doubt, without instantly reacting, you take away their power. You create space between you and the emotion, and in that space, you regain control. One of the most effective ways to develop this control is through self-awareness. The next time you feel a strong emotion, whether it's anger, jealousy, insecurity, pause for a moment. Don't act. Don't speak. Just observe. Ask yourself, where is this coming from? What triggered this? Is it rational? Is this emotion helping me or is it controlling me? The more you practice this, the more you'll start to recognize patterns. You'll realize that many of your emotional reactions are just conditioned responses, automatic, repetitive, often completely irrational, and once you see them for what they are, they lose their grip on you. But awareness alone is not enough. You also need to reprogram how you respond, and that means training yourself to remain composed under pressure. Because emotional mastery is not tested when things are easy. It's tested when things go wrong. When you're criticized unfairly, when someone disrespects you, when fear creeps in and tells you to quit. Those moments will define you. And if you let your emotions take over, if you lash out, if you break down, if you let fear dictate your actions, you lose, not just in that moment, but in life. But if you can remain calm, if you can take a deep breath and choose how to respond rather than reacting impulsively, you become powerful in a way that most people will never understand, because now you are no longer a slave to circumstance, you are no longer easily shaken, you are no longer controlled by fear, anger, or doubt. And when you reach that level of control, when nothing can disturb your peace unless you allow it to, you become unstoppable. There will always be situations that test you. Life does not get easier. People will still be difficult. Challenges will still arise. But when you master your emotions, you don't need life to be easy. You don't need everything to go your way to be at peace. Because your peace, your confidence, your clarity, it comes from within, and no one can take that from you. The way you think determines everything. It shapes what you see, what you do, and ultimately what you become. And yet, most people never stop to examine the quality of their thoughts. They move through life on autopilot, allowing doubt, fear, and negativity to dominate their inner world, never realizing that the limits they perceive are often the ones they've placed on themselves. Because the truth is, your reality, your success, your failures, your relationships, your sense of fulfillment is not just something that happens to you, it is something you create. And that creation begins in your mind. If you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, that you'll never succeed, that life is unfair, you will act in ways that reinforce those beliefs. You will sabotage opportunities, hesitate when you should move forward, and interpret every setback as proof that you were right to doubt yourself. And over time, those thoughts solidify into reality, not because they were true to begin with, but because you made them true by believing them. But the opposite is also possible. If you train yourself to think differently, to adopt a mindset that seeks solutions rather than excuses, progress rather than comfort, strength rather than victimhood, then your actions begin to change. You start making decisions from a place of confidence rather than fear. You see challenges as something to be conquered rather than avoided. And suddenly, the world responds differently to you. Not because the world itself has changed, but because you have changed. This is not about blind optimism or ignoring reality. It's about recognizing that your mind is the filter through which you experience everything. Two people can go through the exact same situation. One sees only obstacles, the other sees possibilities. One feels defeated, the other feels challenged. And in the end, the person who believes they can succeed is the one who does, not because of luck or external advantages, but because their mindset allows them to persist where others give up. So the question is, what kind of reality are you creating for yourself? What kind of thoughts do you allow to take root in your mind? Because your thoughts are not harmless. They are the blueprint of your life. Every time you dwell on failure, you reinforce it. Every time you tell yourself you're not capable, you make it harder to take action. And if you repeat these patterns long enough, they become your identity. You don't just think you're a failure, you believe it. And belief is a powerful thing. But just as a negative mindset can trap you, a strong, disciplined mind can free you. And it starts with one simple but profound realization. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. Most people let their minds run unchecked. They assume that just because a thought enters their head, it must be true, but that's not how it works. Thoughts are just suggestions, shaped by past experiences, fears, and external influence, and you have the power to reject the ones that do not serve you. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, I'll never succeed, what's the point? Stop. Don't just accept it, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me or holding me back? Is it based on truth or on fear? And if it's holding you back, replace it, not with empty affirmations, but with something real. I can figure this out. I have overcome things before. I am capable of growth. It may feel unnatural at first, but over time, this practice reshapes your mind and by extension, your life. The world will not always encourage you. There will be people who doubt you, who try to impose their own limitations onto you, who tell you what is and isn't possible. But their reality does not have to be yours. And the moment you take full responsibility for your thoughts, for the way you interpret and respond to life, you take control of your future. Because the greatest shift you can make is understanding that you are not just reacting to the world. You are creating it. And once you accept that truth, once you begin to shape your thoughts with intention, there is no limit to what you can become. Fear is the force that keeps people small. It whispers doubts, plants hesitation, and convinces you that staying where you are is safer than moving forward. And because most people listen to that voice, they never fully live. They sit on ideas that could change their lives. They avoid challenges that could make them stronger. They trade potential for comfort, not realizing that comfort is the very thing that's suffocating them. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is a signal. It points to the things that matter, the things that hold meaning. The reason you fear speaking up, taking a risk, pushing yourself beyond what feels safe, it's because those things have weight. They hold the potential to change you, to expose weakness, to demand growth. And that's why so many people stay trapped. They convince themselves that they must wait until the fear disappears before they take action. But that day never comes. Fear does not vanish with time. It only shrinks when you confront it. Think about the moments in your life when fear controlled you. The times you held back, stayed quiet, avoided risk. What did that give you? Safety? Maybe for a while, but did it make you stronger? Did it expand your life? Or did it leave you with regret, with a gnawing sense that you were meant for more but couldn't bring yourself to reach for it? That's the real cost of fear. Not just lost opportunities, but the slow erosion of who you could have been. The only way to break free is action. Not hesitation, not overthinking, action. Massive, decisive action that cuts through the excuses and forces growth. But this is where most people falter. They wait for the perfect conditions, the right mindset, a sign that it's time. And while they wait, life moves on without them. The truth is, action creates clarity. You don't wait to feel ready. You move despite the fear. You take the first step, and in doing so, you change your relationship with fear. You stop seeing it as a wall and start recognizing it as a threshold. One you must cross to reach anything worthwhile. Fear thrives in inaction. The more you hesitate, the more power it has. But when you move, when you push forward despite discomfort, you break its grip. The moment you decide, I'm going to do it anyway, you shift from being controlled by fear to being the one in control. And that shift, that's what transforms a person. That's what separates those who dream from those who do. Taking massive action doesn't mean recklessness. It means committing fully. It means setting a course and refusing to back down. It means accepting that failure is part of the process, but never a reason to stop. Because every time you act in the face of fear, you build resilience. You teach yourself that fear is not a signal to retreat, it's a signal to advance. And here's the thing, most of the fears that hold you back are illusions. They exist in your mind, not in reality. You fear what people will think, but most people are too caught up in their own struggles to care. You fear failure, but failure is the only path to growth. You fear stepping into the unknown, but everything worthwhile exists beyond what is familiar. The fear is never as real as it seems. But the consequences of giving in to it, those are real. The life you never build, the goals you never reach, the person you never become. You have a choice. You can stay where you are, letting fear dictate the boundaries of your life, or you can move, you can act, you can step forward into uncertainty, not because it's comfortable, but because you refuse to let fear decide your future. And when you do that, when you make fear your servant instead of your master, nothing can stop you. Your energy and your focus determine the quality of your life. Every action you take, every decision you make, every goal you pursue, it all depends on how well you direct your attention and manage your internal resources. Yet most people drift through life without control over either. They waste time on distractions, exhaust themselves on things that don't matter, and wonder why they feel drained, scattered, and unfulfilled. They never realize that if they could master their energy and focus, they could master everything. Think about it. Every single day, you wake up with a limited amount of energy. It's like currency. You can spend it wisely or waste it. And how you use it determines whether you grow or whether you stagnate. If you waste your energy on negativity, on meaningless arguments, on chasing things that don't align with your purpose, you will always feel exhausted and directionless. But if you channel that energy into what truly matters, if you learn to concentrate it like a laser, you become an unstoppable force. But that requires discipline. You have to take control of your habits, your environment, and most importantly, your mind. Most people don't struggle because they lack talent or intelligence. They struggle because their attention is scattered. They start something, then get distracted. They set a goal, then let doubt pull them away. They allow their focus to be hijacked by endless noise. social media, pointless entertainment, other people's drama. And then they wonder why they're not making progress. It's because they never give themselves fully to anything long enough to see results. Real success, real mastery comes from deep focus. It comes from eliminating distractions and training your mind to stay locked on to what's important. That means setting clear priorities. That means creating an environment that supports your goals instead of pulling you away from them. That means protecting your mental space, choosing what you consume, who you spend time with, what thoughts you allow to take root, because everything you engage with is either strengthening your focus or weakening it. And then there's energy. It doesn't matter how focused you are if you don't have the stamina to follow through. And yet, most people treat their energy as if it's limitless. They run themselves into the ground, neglect their health, burn out, and then wonder why their motivation disappears. But energy is something you cultivate. It comes from how you treat your body, your sleep, your movement, your nutrition. It comes from how you treat your mind, what you think about, what you allow to stress you, what you choose to let go of. And it comes from your sense of purpose. Because when you are aligned with something meaningful, you tap into energy reserves most people never access. The key is balance. You have to protect your energy while directing it towards something worthwhile. You have to train your focus while allowing yourself moments of renewal. You have to build habits that sustain you rather than drain you. Because if you can master this, if you can learn to control where your energy flows and where your attention stays, you will accomplish more than most people ever will. You will move through life with clarity, power, and momentum. And once you reach that level, nothing will be out of your grasp. At the core of everything you desire, success, fulfillment, strength, purpose, is you. Not luck, not circumstances, not what others say or do, you. And the moment you take full responsibility for yourself, your mind, your emotions, your energy, your actions, you take control of your life. Because mastery isn't about dominating the world, it's about mastering yourself. When you develop self-awareness, you break free from unconscious patterns and step into clarity. When you embrace discipline, you build the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. When you control your emotions instead of letting them control you, you gain the power to move through life with composure and strength. When you shift your thoughts, you reshape your reality. When you face fear and take massive action, you break through limits you once thought were impossible. And when you learn to focus your energy on what truly matters, you unlock your full potential. The difference between those who live a life of purpose and those who drift through existence is not talent, intelligence, or luck. It's self-mastery. It's the willingness to step up, to take responsibility, to face discomfort, and to push forward even when it's hard. No one will do this for you. No one can do this for you. But if you commit to this path, if you choose to master yourself, you will master your life. And once you do that, there are no limits to what you can achieve.